What is going on, my Fit fam? Since we are going live, I'm going to go live on all platforms that you guys pop in when we're getting this going. What up, what up, what up? We'll be talking about some good-ish today. Something we've talked about before, but I always like to go over this stuff because, again, a lot of this information, again, guys, we go over the basics a lot here, but I feel like a lot of people just don't quite understand exactly how important a lot of this basic stuff is. And so I like to reiterate this stuff because at the end of the day, this is going to be the main stuff that's going to dictate whether or not you're going to achieve your fitness goals, right? And so today we're talking about nutrition. Nutrition's a big field I make sure that I spend a lot of time in because the reality is, guys, I'll go ahead and give you a little bit of background about like my own fitness journey. Again, I have experience in losing over 100 pounds myself. At my heaviest, I was 284 pounds. For my MMA fight, my first MMA fight, I was 180. I weighed out at 184 pounds. So I'm very well versed in this. I've helped literally hundreds of people lose hundreds of thousands of pounds of weight. And so I want to make sure that we get you guys understanding what is mandatory for this stuff. And what I've done is over the years, I actually made this about 5 years ago, but I created this concept called the 3 pillars of nutrition because there are really 3 main things we really got to make sure we're focusing on when it comes down to burning body fat, building muscle, and making sure you're getting more athletic and going towards those fitness goals. Right now, this is not going to include stuff like, what's the way I want to term this? Micronutrients, for example, or even whole foods, right? This is the part where I think a lot of people really lose it when it comes to nutrition because they start this whole thing and they think that, oh, I just got to eat all these like certain types of foods. And that's not the problem. Guys, you got to understand the biggest thing nutrition-wise that's getting people is definitely obesity, right? It's 40% of the population in the United States is obese. 75% of the population is overweight. Right? That is what's killing people. So we got to make sure I get you guys the information to deal with that. That's what we need to make sure that we got, because here's the thing, even if it is BMI and even if BMI is outdated, when it comes down to a 75-year-old man who's dealing with a fever, it's not outdated. That will matter. That will be a huge factor. Okay. So that's stuff we got to understand. Like if we're talking about increasing the lifespan, our lifespan and making sure we live not only a longer life, but a life where we could be literally 90 years old and running races. And there are literally, guys, there are people who are 100 years old, over 100 years old, and running marathons. There's plenty of videos of them online. Okay, and you're going to see more and more in that as the years go on because the information's simply there. The people who are looking for that information and are serious about it are going to take that information and use it. And you're going to see that, I mean, it's very evident, guys. You go on Facebook, scroll just a little bit, you'll see the reels of, even in the fitness realm, you'll see 100-year-olds who are freaking doing marathons. You'll see 80-year-olds doing powerlifting. Like it's out there. It's a thing, right? So how do we become those kind of, because obviously wouldn't that be great? Because that means when you're that age, you're still able to move around, travel, do all the stuff you want to do with your life. You literally have more years to experience the world and not in a wheelchair, right? So how do we do that? A big thing that's preventing people from doing that is obesity and being overweight. Even if you're overweight, even if it is BMI, when you become 70, 80, 90 years old, that stuff does matter because it depends on how much your heart has to work, okay? So stuff we want to keep in mind. So what's the main things that are a contributing factor to that, to being overweight? And even, obviously, this is going to placate to body fat too, because obviously, guys, like the big thing is I want you guys to retain as much muscle as you possibly can. That being said, even if you were like 60, like if you're 70 years old and you have mostly muscle, but you're still like 250 pounds, it's still going to be hard on your heart. So it's something you guys need to understand. There's supplements that'll help you with that kind of thing anyways. But again, guys, understand that like you don't want to be jacked and huge when you're 60 and 65 plus. Like it's going to start being an actual factor as far as your health goes. So being less weight as you age, mentally in my head, I've already kind of calculated what I'm doing is like, once I get past the age of 65, I'm going to focus more on like cardio aspect things. Still going to weight train 3 to 5 days out of the week, but I'm just going to do a lot more of my stuff on cardio, yoga, MMA stuff like that, right? Where it's not necessarily going to make you gain mass, right? And so that's something to keep in mind. Still need it, definitely still need it, but you don't want to be just focused on like gaining muscle all the time. That being said, anyone younger than that, which is the majority of the population, does need to be focused on that. So body fat percentage is going to be a thing we talk about today. Okay, so something I wanted to kind of get you guys framed up for so that way you guys know what we're getting into here. But let's start with the 3 pillars of nutrition. The 3 pillars of nutrition are going to be the main factors that are going to dictate whether or not you're going to lose weight, lose fat, gain muscle, lose muscle, whatever the case may be, right? So the first one of these are going to be calories. Guys, you got to get calorie tracking down. Without calorie tracking, you are not going to sustain your fat loss. Not predictably so, at least. Because the number one thing that we see is like people who track their calories tend to eat less. It's just a factor, right? Even then, guys, when it comes down to if you're wanting to bulk up and gain some muscle, the reality here is you need to track your calories to make sure you're eating enough. Okay, so this is the thing. Like, you're going to start finding that what we talk about today is going to be a lot less about what you eat, and it's going to be a lot more about how much you eat. It's literally quantity. Quantity is the formula here, guys. Make sure we get that part down now, because there's so many people out there wondering what kinds of foods they eat, blaming the US or blaming the grocery store for charging out the woo-ha for healthy foods. But the reality is, guys, I made this work when I could barely afford rent and I had to heat my house with an oven because I couldn't afford the gas bill. Okay, so stop with those excuses. They are bullshit excuses. You just don't know how to do it. Your ego's getting in your own way. And so I'm going to explain to you guys how to do it. The big thing is, first off, guys, if you need a grocery list ebook to help you with this, hit my ass up. I got those. Okay, I literally give those away for free. I do not charge for those. Hit me up. I'll hook you up. But that being said, one big thing we got to start off with is making sure we are tracking our stuff, okay? Making sure, and when we're talking about that, we're going to talk about tracking the main 3 pillars of nutrition. This is the stuff you got to know. Because here's the reality. If you're not tracking, we have no idea what we need to do with you, right? Without data tracking, we don't know if you need to eat more. We don't know if you need to eat less. We don't know if you need more protein. We don't know if you need more water intake. We don't know what's going on with you, right? We literally, anything we decide to do with you is going to be like throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping something sticks. That's not the best way to go about doing this. It's actually a very frustrating way to go about doing this. You need to get the foundation down. Understand the foundation is tracking everything. When it comes down to nutrition, we're going to talk to you guys about the 3 pillars of nutrition, which is what you're going to be tracking. One of those is going to be calories, obviously. A lot of you guys know about calorie tracking. Too little of you guys are doing calorie tracking. Very simple. Download a free app called MyFitnessPal. Yes, there's plenty of other apps out there. I have always used MyFitnessPal. It has never turned me wrong. No, you do not need the premium. You just download that stuff and start tracking that stuff. Okay, don't overcomplicate it. If you aren't tracking right now, any kind of tracking is going to be better than nothing. Don't try to be perfect. Okay, just start doing. Start doing so you can get better at it. Okay, that's the best thing I can tell you guys there. But you got to understand, when it comes down to whether or not you're going to gain or lose weight, this is all a calorie thing. It doesn't matter if you're wanting to lose fat. It doesn't matter if you want to gain muscle. It all stems off the calories. Why? Because your calories dictate your hormones, guys. A lot of you guys aren't putting this together, and that's why I need to make live streams on this so I can explain this part to you guys. But calories are the main thing that dictate, for example, testosterone levels naturally. They're one of the main things that dictate testosterone. Okay, I can make this very simple for you guys, so I can give you guys some analogies so you can kind of think about how this works. But like, for example, you guys don't realize how much testosterone plays into effect to a lot of different things in our body. It's not just muscle growth, it's repair in general. So it's the thing that helps you keep your teeth, for example. It's what helps repair your teeth. It's also what helps you keep your hair, right? It's a big factor. And so a great example of someone who, for example, is under eating, right? If you're someone who struggles with not eating enough, and guys, you would be surprised, most people who are trying to burn body fat typically struggle with eating enough on multiple days out of the week, and then they binge like 1 or 2 days out of the week, and that's enough to burn muscle because your testosterone's dropping, and then you gain fat on the days you're overeating. It's a continuous cycle where you're burning muscle, gaining fat, burning muscle, gaining fat. The exact opposite of what we want to do, guys. This is why I do these live streams for you guys, because you got to understand this or else you're going to keep struggling. I promise you. You have to track. It is not negotiable. Another reason why we track, guys, again, this is something I really save more for my clients, but this is how I get my clients result. And if they don't do this, I literally get them out of my training, because I'm not going to just take their money and then them not get results, right? Like, if you don't do the non-negotiables, I'm not going to deal with you, right? And the reason for that is just simply because, one, I don't like taking people's money and them not getting anything from it. If you're not going to do it, I'm not going to train you, right? But two, you're not going to sustain anything that's not habit. If you're tracking every day, you're making it habitual, you're paying attention to your nutrition and your fitness every day because you're tracking every day, that's what creates these habits. You do that for a few months, it starts becoming as easy as literally brushing your teeth in the morning. Many of you guys brushed your teeth this morning and you didn't even think about it because you do it every single day. Wouldn't it be great if tracking your calories was like that? It can be. You got to do it every day, though. Okay? That's why this is super important, guys. If you want to sustain results and not lose results after, working hard, dropping 10 pounds, and then going backwards because you can't sustain it, this is how you do that, right? This is why I always tell people, like, you may be able to lose a little bit of weight on keto, a little bit of weight on whatever fad diet's out there, right? But the reality is, if you want to keep that off for a lifetime reliably, you got to track your stuff so you can figure out what's going on in your body, okay? That's super, super big. Bryce says, if I don't track, I get anxious. Dude, I feel like you should. Justifiably so. That's good. That means you've created a habit and that's what I mean, guys. Like, a lot of people think that you're just supposed to go towards good feelings all the time. Go check out my last live stream. You're not, okay? The thing is, you need that anxiety to tell you to go certain directions, or if you're doing something right or wrong. And the habits you do are going to, literally, guys, the habits you have built in place are going to dictate when you feel anxiety, whether or not it's logical anxiety or not. This is what the subconscious mind does. This is very research stuff. We've known this for at least 30 years as far as psychology goes. Okay, this is not new stuff. It's just stuff that a lot of people don't know about. So we got to make sure you guys get that part down. Like calories, tracking, all of that is super, super big, right? And again, a big part is I want to make sure you guys crucially understand at least half of you guys are under eating. So you need to understand that, like, it's not about calorie tracking to make sure this is part of it, to make sure you're not overeating, but it's also making sure you're tracking so that we make sure you're not under eating. Because again, you'll get that testosterone drop, and then you'll get into this cycle of burning muscle and gaining fat whenever you binge, because you will binge if you're under eating. You'll turn animalistic. Your body is designed to kind of drop your guard down and make you not listen to yourself when you're under eating like that, because quite simply, you're not going to survive if you keep eating that way, right? Or some very bad stuff like, bones breaking, stuff like that over time. And again, willpower plays into a part of this too. But a great example of this would be anorexic people, guys. And the reason I bring this up is because what happens when you're anorexic? Well, if you look at someone who's anorexic, they're very skinny. They have no muscle mass. Their bones are very thin, right? And this comes obviously because they're under eating. But why? Why are they so thin and frail? A big part of that is their testosterone levels have dropped severely. This is why people who are anorexic also lose their hair and lose their teeth. Just like someone who's abused steroids and then gets off steroids, they'll start losing hair. This is something that's well known. This is why you see a lot of those guys, like, for example, C-Bum's a great example, like, of someone who's getting all these, like, hair implants done because they used testosterone, and now they don't produce testosterone normally. It's the same exact process is going on. You can induce that just by under eating as well. A lot of people don't understand that aspect of things. This is why it's very crucial, guys, that if you are under eating significantly, this is why you can't be in a super low calorie deficit for a long amount of time. And this is why you really shouldn't go more than like 2 to 3 weeks without a refeed day, because your testosterone will drop and then you'll lose muscle, which is affecting how much fat you're going to burn. Because your muscle is your direct metabolism, guys. And so this is why this stuff is important. I need to make sure you guys understand this. Again, this doesn't mean I want you guys to just strive for perfection here, but I need you guys to be aware that, like, when you brush some of this stuff off, like, oh, I'm just not going to track this today, or oh, I'm not going to hit my calories today, and it's okay. Like, it's not okay. It's sending you down a bad path. Like, this is why the calorie tracking is there to tell you, hey, even though you don't feel like it, you need to eat more. Hey, even though you don't feel like it, you need to eat less. You got to starve yourself for a little bit because you already ate all your calories for today. That is what that's there to tell you. It's there to tell you when to listen to you, when and when not to listen to your emotions. If you still got 1,000 calories left and you're hungry, listen to that emotion, right? But if you've literally got no calories left and you're hungry as hell, guess what, dude? I'm sorry, you're gonna have to go hungry, and you're gonna have to deal with that. That's just part of the process. And you got to learn that it's not always going to be a feel-good thing. It's going to be a thing that it's going to be necessity over pleasure. Okay? Especially if you've been dealing for this. Listen, it's easy to brush this off for a long time, but when it starts becoming evident in front of your face, guys, there becomes a point where everyone breaks and they're like, I've had enough of this. And you either go towards success or you stay back and it literally will kill you off, guys. This is evolution at its finest. We talk about it all the time in school and stuff, but you guys got to understand evolution is playing out right in front of us all the time. And right now, the part of evolution that's taken humans out is obesity and comfort. We know that crucially. Why? Because it is one of the biggest killers in America right now. It is huge. It's the second most preventable death behind cigarette smoking. Okay, and typically people who are overweight are also cigarette smokers. So it's hard, it even blends into that fact. So it's something you guys got to understand. This is a big thing. It's easy to brush off until you're in the hospital. And it happens all the time, guys. Some of my best clients hit me up after they've had some kind of really big life traumatic event that they were not okay with, that really snapped them back into shape. For example, having kids and then being too tired to play with your kids, that'll snap you back into shape real quick. Because a lot of people want to be able to have that opportunity to play with their kids. You get one life. Your kids only have one childhood, right? And you don't want to waste it sitting on your ass doing absolutely fucking nothing because you can't catch your breath, right? That shit will slap you in the fucking face. But it's easy to put this off when you don't have stuff like that going on. But I promise you, at everyone's life, this affects you. It doesn't matter how rich you are. It doesn't matter how poor you are. There are people out there that this is going to affect if you don't focus on the right things. This is the great equalizer, guys. There's no amount of money you can pay to be disciplined. There's not, right? I say that. It's almost like it doesn't matter how much. In order for you to be super disciplined, there's that term everyone hears, burn the boats, right? And one of the things that people talk about, and this is literally a thing that I was taught in. This was for my transformation specialist. So this is my more like psychological approach that they taught me. But like literally having a huge like kind of thing set up to where like if you like, here's a good example. Like you set up a goal, give like a goal that you are really crucially trying to hit. We'll use fat loss for right now just to make things simple, but this could be any goal. It could be business, relationship. It could be literally anything. But set up a goal and a deadline. Say, I want to lose 30 pounds within the next 4 months. Very doable goal, right? Then give a friend of yours $1,000. And if you're a rich person, give them a lot of money that's going to hurt if you don't fucking do the thing, right? And if you don't achieve that goal within that time frame, they get to keep that money. Or they get to donate it to a charity, or here's a better one. They get to donate it to a charity you don't like, or they get to donate it to the opposite party that you voted for last election. It needs to be something you don't fucking want, right? That'll kick your ass in the gear. That is called burning the fucking boats. You either do it or you're going to suffer the consequences, right? That is a literal thing that people use to help motivate themselves, and it works very, very freaking well. It's again, guys, it's the term I use all the time with my clients. We call it reward and punishment, and we use this idea because a lot of people, you're one or the other. You're either reward and punishment driven, or you're going to be all or nothing driven. All or nothing is going to lead you down the wrong path every single fucking time. Punishment and reward is going to teach you right and wrong. Quite literally, if you're going the right way, you're going to get rewarded. If you're going the wrong way, punishment, there goes $1,000, right? That might seem like for a lot of you guys like, oh my God, I don't know if I'd want to lose that much money. Well, that's the fucking point, Jack. You're not supposed to want to lose. If you're so rich that $1,000 doesn't feel like a lot of money, then you need to do $10,000. You gotta understand this is not supposed to feel. This is my whole point I'm getting back to, is that it's not based on feelings. It's based off of making sure that we're doing the right thing to go into the right direction. Because if we base this all on how we feel about it, you won't ever get there. We're creatures of comfort, and comfort is a velvet prison. It'll keep you back for a long time, and it'll feel good the whole process. We got to be very, very aware of that, because a lot of people get held back in that comfortable prison, that velvet prison of comfort, because they just want to stay comfortable. But I promise you guys, no one's ever seen success with comfort. So you got to be willing to burn those fucking boats and do what you're willing to take. You literally have to be willing to kill off your old self, because the current you, clearly, if you have a goal like you're wanting to burn 20 pounds, or you want to lose 100 pounds, or if you want to gain 20 pounds of muscle, whatever the goal you have, clearly you right now is not enough to get there. It's going to take a newer, evolved version of you, and you're going to have to leave some old stuff behind. You're going to have to leave some aspects of you behind in order to reach that new tier. You got to be willing to do that, or you're not going to make it. Because again, guys, if it was good enough to make it, you would already be there. You would already have the goals you're already striving for. In order to evolve, you got to leave some stuff behind. This is what we call sacrifices. A lot of you guys hear these words, but a lot of you guys aren't comprehending them. That means stuff that you really like, Oh, you like staying up late playing video games with your friends? Uh-oh, you need 8 hours of sleep. Looks like that's not happening anymore. Right? Oh man, you love going to get wings Wednesdays and beers with your friends. Oh, you love going to get brunch with the ladies and getting some cocktails and whatnot. Uh-oh, you're on a fitness journey. Can't do that no more. Sorry. This is what I'm talking about. Some of you guys hear that and it stings. And it should. If it wasn't a worthy sacrifice, it wouldn't be worth it, right? But a lot of you guys need to make that distinction. What do you want to have? You don't get to have both of these things. There's no pill. There's no amount of money you can pay to just give you discipline to make sure. Guys, the bodies you want is all hidden behind discipline. You got to get there, right? Now, again, I don't want this to turn into any kind of mindset training because this is all about nutrition today. But stuff we'll talk about next time because I promise you guys, again, I always tell you guys this. I can give you guys the perfect game plan. I can give you guys all the knowledge in the world. If you don't show the fuck up, it doesn't matter. None of it matters. Right? So again, the mindset is the most crucial part of this. You guys got to understand that now. Like, you don't need a perfect game plan. You don't need to be perfect in any way, shape, or form. You don't need a meal plan. You don't need any of that. You need to try hard. That's it. That's it. Relentlessly trying hard. And if you do that, I promise you, you'll get so much further than you ever thought possible. But you got to be continuous with it. That's the key. Now, we're talking about 3 pillars of nutrition. We already know one of the things we need to track is calories. What's the next big thing? Protein intake should be obvious. You guys should know this. Obviously, if we want to go ahead and keep muscle, protein's a big word out there that even people who aren't in the fitness community know they need a high protein intake. I say that there are a lot of people out there who are on like a weight loss journey, right? Which I need to say this because I'm really big on fat loss, but weight loss tends to fall in there. A lot of you guys need to understand that you may say weight loss, but you mean fat loss. A lot of you guys want to look toned, but you don't understand that toned muscle is that's muscle. It's you building muscle. The difference between toned muscle and bulking, or let me say it this way, the difference between toning and bulking is absolutely nothing. They're the exact same thing. Now, some of you guys may see some of my content and you may see me use some of these terms, but that's not because I'm using them because it's the kind of verbiage I would actually use. I'm using that so it pops up on y'all's feed because there's something called SEO, search engine optimization. So like if I want my videos to get in front of the right people that it's actually going to help, I got to speak y'all's language. So you all might see that in my comments, like, this dude said this is a fat loss workout. By the way, that's actually there's a reason there is a difference between fat loss workouts and bulking workouts. But like you'll see some stuff in verbiage like toning, for example, is a really big one. Like you'll see me use the word tone out there, but I'm not saying that because that's any different than bulking. I'm just saying that because there's a lot of people out there who are really trying to burn a lot of fat. Like people who are trying to lose 100 pounds who don't give a shit about what their muscle looks like. They just want to lose that belly. Right? I understand that. But at the same time, what you got to understand now is that you building muscle is what's going to get rid of that. Right? And there's a lot of people, like it's all the verbiage and jargon and stuff out there that can confuse some people. But they genuinely still teach toning in college. Yeah, bro, college sucks. I'm going to go ahead and tell you all that right now. That sucks, man. There's a lot of very bad information being taught in colleges these days, man. I hate to hear that. They shouldn't be teaching that at all. But yeah, that's not true. Toning and building muscle are exactly this exact same thing. If you want more toned muscle, you need more muscle. That's what it is. All right. And I say that also for a lot of ladies out there that are afraid of getting bulky. You're not going to get bulky if you want to look toned. In order to look toned, tone the muscle you want to look. If you want a better booty, you got to build some muscle. That's how that works. That's exactly how that works. But again, if I say that in these short form contents and you guys are swiping by, you guys won't really notice that. I mean, the big thing is if I spend the time to explain that, I can make a piece of content explaining that, but if I spend the time to explain that over other content I'm going over, you guys have already passed on. It's just the way all these algorithms works. Unfortunately, in order to get y'all's attention span, I do have to be very quick about what I'm talking about, or else you're gone. You're just you're on to the next one, right? Even if you follow my stuff, if it's even boring for a second, you guys will swipe, even if you like me. It's just the way this algorithm works, and be careful about that, guys, because that's how I know all of us have been subject to doom scrolling before. That's what happens. You just get stuck in a dopamine cycle, and you just want to see something else instead of doing what you need to go to. And so one thing I need to do as someone who's trying to get this information out in front of you guys is be really good about like how I say stuff in my content. And that's one of the things I'll do is I'll try and work on the SEO optimization. I'll say toning, but understand it's no different than bulking. And the reason that's important as far as protein goes is, again, guys, whether or not you're trying to build muscle or burn fat, you need protein. All of you need a high amount of protein. At least I always have my clients usually about 0.8 to a gram per pound you want to weigh, right? So if you're 250 pounds and you're trying to get to 200 pounds, I want you to eat about 200 grams of protein or at least 185 grams of protein, somewhere in that ballpark, right? Like you need a lot. And I say that, and some people don't realize just how much protein you need to eat. You need to understand there's a reason it's a pillar of nutrition. You need to prioritize protein more than any other macronutrient. And again, guys, if you're not used to eating this way, it's going to be very hard at first because you haven't eaten this way before. Your body's not used to it. It does get easier. You start understanding how much it takes. But one reason you guys got to understand this is you're probably seeing a lot of these high protein recipes I post out there. That's why I make so many of them, guys. Like they're crucial. Like without the high protein, just because you're in a calorie deficit doesn't mean you're going to look the way you want to look. You're going to end up looking like those people who look really, really. Have you guys ever seen those people who get done using Ozempic and they don't quite look right? They look a little bit too thin, saggy. There's no muscle tone. That's what you end up looking like when you undereat, right? And not only undereat, but clearly those people on Ozempic definitely, guys, there's no way. There's very few people, like I hate to say that because there are people who take Ozempic the right way. And I say they take it and they still track their calories and they still hit workouts the way they're supposed to hit workouts. I know this because I trained one of them and one of them I got really good results with me. But that being said, I would say 80 to 90% of people who are taking Ozempic are taking it without dieting and taking it without doing any kind of workouts. They're just trying to lose that weight really quickly. And I say that because if you do that, you're going to end up getting Ozempic body and it's not going to look good. And not only that, as soon as you stop taking Ozempic, you're going to gain that weight back because all that Ozempic is doing is messing with your hormones in a way that makes you not hungry, which is not good if you're under eating and you need to, and again, guys, this is how you end up like losing that testosterone. Your testosterone will drop, your bones will get frail, you'll start easily getting, there's a bunch of problems that come up with it. And again, I say this in regards that there is a way you can still do that. It's just that you got to be crucial. If it's making it to where you can't, the client I had, who did, she's very young. This is my client, Abby. You guys can go look at her results. She had some really fucking awesome results. And the reason she was able to do that, she did not look like she had that Ozempic body. Like she looked good. She had like a really good physique. And the reason she did is because we were really big about tracking calories. Like if she was under eating, I was really big about being like, hey dude, you got to make sure you're eating this or else we need to hop. And there would be periods where like we would stop like doing the Ozempic so she could focus on eating more calories and stuff. Like we really focused a lot on it. So there is a way to go around it. Like if you're someone who really is like, there are people out there who I think it's beneficial for. I think for a vast majority of the population, you're either going to not use it the right way or you're going to abuse it. And you're going to use it in a way that's going to send you down the wrong path. And a problem with a lot of this Ozempic, guys, the thing about how much protein you need to eat, let me say this. The reason people overeat so much is because they don't eat as much protein as they need. Protein is huge for keeping you full. And not only that, you need a certain amount in order to keep the muscle mass and make sure that you're rebuilding your body properly. It's not even just for muscle mass. Protein breaks down into basic amino acids that your entire body uses for a lot of different things, not just building muscle. It's even used for simple hormones, like I said. So that stuff we got to understand is like, we need a lot of freaking protein. And if you're someone who's on like Ozempic, for example, what that can do is it can make you not hungry for protein. And it makes it really, really, really difficult to get that protein in. So I promise you guys, if you're struggling with overeating, get on a high protein diet. You will be a lot less hungry because it just takes a lot longer to digest that protein. That's a big reason a lot of people struggle with overeating is most of their diet is filled with carbs, and carbs are really easy to digest. So you can eat a lot of them and be hungry again an hour later. Literally. Like candy, Chinese food, literally that's the whole joke about it. That's not even a joke. That's a real thing. The whole joke about eating Chinese food and being hungry an hour later, that happens because what is most of Chinese food? Well, for one, when you're talking about that chicken they have, it's usually covered in some kind of sugary sauce they have. So there's that. And then two, what's the other big thing? Rice. And that's where most of the volume comes from the meal. And that's out of your stomach roughly within about an hour to an hour and a half. So you're hungry again, right? And so the reason people are struggling with being very hungry, and again, there's some people who are really on the, like, we're talking people who are 300 pounds plus who really are really struggling with it. That's when we can start talking about Ozempic and stuff like that, and maybe doing it the right way. But you got to get, without the tracking the calories and the protein, you're screwed, right? So understand that these play huge roles in making sure this works the right way. All right. Now, here's the next big thing that should be very obvious, but again, it's obvious to me because I do this for a living. Water intake. Okay. We all know we need to drink a lot of water. This needs to be something you guys track. Okay. If you don't track your water intake, everything we just talked about, there's a reason I call it the 3 pillars of nutrition. These are all the things you need to track to make sure you're being on point with this stuff. Okay. So, like, for example, most of you guys are trying to drink a lot of water, but you're not tracking how much you drink. And so when I get on a phone call with you guys, and I do this all the time, I get this response all the time. And I say, all right, well, how much water do you drink a day? Usually I'll get the response of, oh, all I drink is water. And I'll tell them, that's not the fucking question I asked, Jack. I won't say it that way, but I will say that's not what I asked. The biggest thing you guys got to understand is if you don't know how much water is going in your body on a daily basis, you probably are not hitting your water intake goals. Okay? And this is something you can track, again, on the MyFitnessPal app. It has a place for water intake, right? And it's very evident as far as how much you need. For optimization, we need at least half your weight in ounces, maybe even a little bit more. So if you're 200 pounds, you need 100 ounces of water every single day. And most people who think they drink a lot of water, when I ask them, like, how many, if we were to, like, again, going back to that scenario, when people tell me that they drink a lot of water and I ask them, well, how much water? They usually say, I don't know. And I'll ask, well, okay, how much in, like, if we were talking about those, like, water bottles you guys see all the time, how many of those would you think you drink a day? Most of them say like 3 or 4, which is not enough. That's like half a gallon. It's maybe 60 ounces, right? Anywhere between 50 to 60 ounces. And a lot of you guys are needing in the range of 80 to 100 to a whole gallon of water, right? That's why this part's important, and it plays a huge driving factor. It affects your digestion, it affects your recovery, your circulation. It's literally going to affect how you feel when you wake up in the morning. When you guys wake up in the morning and you feel like death, a big factor of that is you're dehydrated. I want you all to do a little test and experiment with me right now. Go ahead and take your hand out in front of you and breathe on your hand. Do it a few times. You feel that moisture? That is the moisture that's leaving your body, and you do that for 6 to 8 hours a night in bed. You lose like a liter of water just sleeping. Okay? A lot of you guys don't realize this, and you wonder why water intake's so big. It's literally going to affect how energized you are in the morning. That feeling of needing coffee isn't you needing coffee, it's you're dehydrated. Believe it or not, that coffee is actually dehydrating you more. I actually did a piece of content on this earlier this week, but it's true. The biggest source for having low energy in the United States, I would tell you right now, is dehydration. Because simply most people aren't drinking that much, because I'll tell you a big reason why. It's because it makes you pee like crazy. I mean, that's just reality. In order for you to feel, you got to make a choice. Do you want to have a healthy heart and feel good, or do you want to pee all the time? Let me say that. Do you want to have a healthy heart and feel good, but you got to pee all the time? Or do you want to be able to not have to pee all the time and feel like shit all the time? One or the other, you do not get to choose. Right? So something you got to understand, yeah, of course you're going to be peeing all the time, but you're also going to feel good. You're going to be thinking more clearly. It's like the main thing that, guys, how do you think you get oxygen to your brain? It doesn't just magically show up there. What do you think most of your blood is? It's water. And so, and again, yeah, this does play directly into your blood pressure, like your heart health directly, because I'll explain it this way. I've done a few pieces of content on this, but for you guys who haven't seen them, water in your blood is a lot like oil in an engine, right? If it's low on water, it's going to be more thick, very thick, like syrup. Mainly just because it's the same thing, guys. If you take fruit juice, because, right, we take blood, right? Blood is not just water, obviously, right? It's water mixed with a lot of stuff like platelets, cells, whatever, we can go on all day, right? But That's the same thing as like fruit juice. Fruit juice isn't just water. It has a bunch of other stuff in it too, right? What happens when you take fruit juice and you cook it down and you distill it down and you take the water out of it? If you guys don't know, that's actually how you make syrup. That's how you make syrup. You take fruit juice, you take some kind of some kind of fruit concentrate, you distill the water out of it and it becomes thick like syrup. That is exactly what happens to your blood when you're dehydrated. Your blood pressure goes up and your heart has to deal with that. And it has to beat harder and faster in order to get that oxygen to the rest of your body, including your brain. Okay, this is why you feel more tired. This is why it feels like literally like you're having to warm yourself up when you're getting out of bed. It's because quite literally you've got sludge running through your brains, bro. And the way we help decrease that is we rehydrate that, we reintroduce that water intake, and that's going to help make it to where your heart is pumping a lot easier because your blood isn't as thick. It's more watered down. It has more fluidity to it. Just like if you were to take maple syrup and add water to it, well, what's going to happen to that maple syrup? Well, it's going to start, if you add enough water to it, it's going to become it's going to move like water, right? So I want you to take an example. Our arteries and our veins are a lot like the drains you use at home, right? Like your kitchen sink. Literally, it's piping, it's tubing. And so I want you to think about this. What do you think is going to flow through those pipes easier? Maple syrup or water? There you go. That is literally how blood pressure works, by the way, guys. People don't think about it yeah, I never thought about it like that. That's exactly how it works, man. That's exactly how it works. A lot of people don't understand. That's why water intake is such a big deal. And because of that, guys, if you're wondering like why you'll go into a gym and you just feel like you just can't, or like a great example, if you guys have ever felt hungover, a lot of you guys don't realize that the biggest part of that headache is coming from dehydration. Alcohol dehydrates you. So you get that throbbing headache because you have a higher blood pressure. Not to mention that your kidney's going through some shit, right? But it's something you guys got to understand is like that's a huge part of that process is that water intake directly drives your natural energy. That's a straight up fact. And we know this. I've been doing this for way too long to think anything different. I've known this from my own training, right? When I'm hydrated, and not even that, there's a difference between being optimized. Guys, that's drinking half your weight in ounces is just to make sure that you don't have high blood pressure. If you want to optimize your training, you need a little bit more than that. Just a little bit more, not too much more. You don't want to drink an ounce per pound you weigh because that's too much. But like half of that, like somewhere like 0.75 your weight in ounces is like great for optimization as long as you're taking electrolytes with that. Perfect. Right, your workouts are great. You can sweat a lot more. You can get a little bit more overheated because you have the capacity to sweat more. It's great for your workouts, right? It's great for making sure you don't get that feeling of like getting done working out and hearing that high blood pressure, boom, 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 boom. That's what that is. Okay, so like this is a huge part of that process, and not to mention, if your water intake's too low, you're also going to have a lot of issues when it comes down to your hormones. Water intake is again. It's what gives your blood fluidity. And so that blood is what carries all these hormones, all these, protein, calories, energy to the rest of your body, the rest of your cells, to your brain. And so it's going to have a harder time doing that. Literally. I mean, guys, this is why you also are just extremely tired when you're dehydrated. You literally will get more yawns is because if your blood is having a harder time going through your body, that means the oxygen in your blood is having a harder time getting it to even your brain. So quite literally, you're having less oxygen in your brain. That's what's going on, right? So you shouldn't. Who said that? You shouldn't have to track calories or water. No, Devin. Whoever you are, we got someone in the chat who has no idea what they're talking about. What do you say? I bet he's a keto guy. Keto and the carnivore diet is trash. Yes, I do agree with that. You shouldn't have to track calories or water. Your body should naturally and instinctively tell you when you need it. No, that's absolutely false. You must have missed the whole first half of this live stream. Go watch it. We just talked about how you shouldn't react towards how you feel. That's intuitive eating, and I've seen way too many fat people tell me that, and they stay fat. Okay, no, that is not how it works. You guys got to be careful. This is what I'm talking about. You see all these kinds of people talking about this kind of stuff on the internet, talking like they know it's fact. They got no backing behind them. You go to my page right now, you're going to see 10 different people who have gotten the results results they've been looking for. It's because you do track your calories and water. I don't know why anyone would think that. That's not even like the main quote too. I don't know where you got that from. That is not what you do. Do not listen to people like that. That's what I'm saying. This is why I do live streams on this stuff, guys, because you got people like that that will give you bad information out there. That is really, really bad information. I really doubt you're ripped. I really highly doubt you're ripped. I'll go check your page out after this to see if you've even posted anything. But that being said, these are the 3 pillars of nutrition, guys. Make sure you don't listen to people like that. You need to be tracking your calories. You need to be tracking your protein. You need to be tracking your water intake if you want to make sure you get results like my clients. Again, haven't seen any of my clients' results, go check out my page. I've got plenty of them. Not only that, I have my own experience dropping over 100 pounds. I'm also an MMA fighter who has competed, and I've done so at that weight, right, while I was shredded and have had abs myself, okay? I also can deadlift over 600 pounds. So again, listen to the people who have the results you want. If you don't want those kinds of results, functional athleticism, looking ripped, feeling good, more mental energy and more mental clarity, then don't do what I said to do. But I'm telling you guys, I've been doing this for over a decade. I promise you, these are the main, I wrote books on this. I write guides on this. I've made hundreds of pieces on content on this. These are how I get my clients' results, are these 3 main things. So make sure you do not freaking excuse that. I promise you guys, you want to understand how I get my clients freaking results, you want to understand how I get the results I've got, stick to those. As far as nutrition goes, that's all you got to do. Track your calories, track your protein, track your water intake. That's it. You don't have to worry about it. Literally, here's the thing. This is why it's so crucial. You could literally, if you've hit your protein for the day and you've got 300 calories left, I don't care if you eat a Snickers bar, dude. Literally. That's why this is an important thing we need to talk about. Because if we don't understand the main metrics here, guys, you think that this is all a prison, and it's not. You need these standards. You need these lines to understand when and when you shouldn't eat certain things, right? When and when you shouldn't have a candy bar. Well, guess what, dude? If you've been good on your diet and you have the calories for it, you can have that stuff. You are absolutely allowed to have that stuff. But you got to make sure that, like, you're tracking that, because if you don't have that foundation, guys, you are going to be stuck in this cycle of just like overeating, undereating, not hitting enough calories, not eating enough protein, not seeing the results you want to see. So make sure, guys, let's not leave this to chance. Track that data so we can figure out what we need to change, and let's change it. That's all I got for you guys today. We'll be live again on Sunday for some more information. We'll probably do some motivation so I can get you guys a little bit more fired up. But I'll see you guys soon. Peace out.